Hello, and welcome back to a Squirrel Plays. This time around, we're not going to be focusing on breaking anything down and rebuilding, or critiquing, or brainstorming. Instead, we're going to hang around the acorn tree and have some fun today. And what for, you might be wondering? There's a few reasons I wanted to do a more relaxed video this time around, and at the end of the video, you will see why. Things are happening around the squirrel home these days, and I thought it'd be nice to take a step back and enjoy the community. And to do that, we're going to have a look at some of the characters that you all have made. Now, these are all TTRPG characters I'll be talking about, but that doesn't mean they couldn't have been used elsewhere. So if you're from the writing crowd and working on your own story, feel free to stick around because there's plenty of inspiration to pull from. Which is why this video got the brown border instead of the green one. In case you haven't noticed, I've been trying to put the green border with the D20 in the corner on videos related to TTRPG stuff, and the brown one with the acorn on videos like this that are just random nuts of information. Technically, I even have a blue one for video games, but I never get to use that one, sadly. Anyway, let's get down to business. I'll start the show by using a player character from the campaign we're currently running. His name is Gurkatana Tashir. Did I mention this player is on the other side of the world? Gurkatana Tashiramoto. I think that's how it's pronounced. Actually, you know what? I lied. We're going straight to the community characters. Let's start with a familiar but trustworthy hamster. The hamster says, as for the characters I have made, there is Coots, you know, let's try another one. How about a character from R. Walter? His character name is Grug. Yes, something legible. Grug was a 10-foot tall half-orc barbarian. He was a definition of min-max. Dude was starting 5th edition at level 1 with 18 strength, but had just enough intelligence to rival a slightly educated blade of grass. R. Walter took role-playing that to heart. Anytime he thought of something clever, he would roll to himself to determine if Grug's shared brain cell would even have a hint if it was possible. Now see, I like that. I really do. I mean, the explanation is hilarious too, but I'm talking about how he chose to roll to see how smart his character would be. A lot of times it's easy for the player to come up with something because we have that game experience, but the character might not necessarily know what's going on. In our current campaign, where everyone is playing as the mushroom fungali folks, we have a character that currently is not the brightest, and if I'm remembering correctly, I think he's done a similar thing a couple times. Sometimes the character does something smart, and sometimes not. It keeps things interesting, that's for sure. But that's not all for Grug, so let's see what else we have. Grug single-handedly acted as the party's beast of burden. At one point, the party got a wagon, and Grug was both who pulled it and used it as a shield. He prevented the other party members from being hurt because he was physically too large for a hallway. Grug covered the hallway from wall to wall and floor to ceiling. He was also too dumb to understand the concept of a door, and as a result, many doors were made suddenly with force, both in and out of combat. Grug had an axe, but frankly ended up doing more damage by throwing whatever rock or furniture was in with reach. He also lobbed a party member straight into a wall because he couldn't aim. And this is the best part of the whole story. Grug was dim, but he will always shine in my heart. Oh man, what a ride. So having a character that doesn't have a preferred weapon and instead uses whatever is nearby would be really interesting, I think. Your damage output would be environmental based. A cool concept, I like it. Though I do wonder what old Grug was like as a person. I wonder if he was always looking for a fight and ready to brawl, or if he was just super protective of the other party members. Was he a giant teddy bear on the side when his party members weren't in danger? Don't know. Maybe R. Walter will pop up in the comments and let us know. Anyway, let's try another one. This one is from Colonel D, who has sadly left the Discord since posting this, but I'll still have a look at what he posted. Probably my most noteworthy character was a halfling that went by Joffrey Wingler. They were a rogue that was conceited to an enormous degree, primarily fighting with pub darts. What Joffrey came to be known most for was boasting, to the point he took perform grand standing as a trained skill. Anytime the party did anything cool, he would write a story about it in what was supposed to be a spell book. The store didn't sell diaries, so he just bought a blank spellbook, but would rewrite events to make himself be the hero solving all the problems. He called it his Book of Great Deeds. Alright, so already we're getting a really clear picture of Joffrey's personality here. The stories in that book were pretty wild. Supposedly he outdrank a bar full of dwarfs, used his fire immunity that he doesn't have, to defeat an evil monk that tried to trick him, defeated an entire tribe of goblins single-handedly, along with a whole host of other crazy antics. But the craziest part is that some of them were true. As the campaign went on, the book in which he recorded his stories, unbeknownst to him, began to take on magic of its own, with novel spells appearing hidden within the words that actual casters could spot. The spells were always something related to the event of the story, such as a spell making it impossible for you to get overly drunk, or a variant of fireball that exploded point blank, but would not harm the caster so long as they made a sufficiently cool pose as they cast the spell. And you can't see it, but I actually made a pose myself as I was reading that. Eventually, poor Joffrey met his end in an even more ridiculous way. He somehow, despite still only being a single-digit level, found himself in front of Asmodeus himself. Asmodeus demanded servitude, and Joffrey promptly showed him a rude gesture and paid for that trespass with his life. The book became a reoccurring item in that group for a time. It acted as an artifact spellbook that would write new stories into itself, always rewriting events to make the current owner of the book into the big hero of the story. When its owner died, it would disappear to find a new owner. Okay, so there's a lot going on here, and it's all pretty great. We got a really clear picture of what Joffrey is all about in this little story, all the way up to quite literally his end. Using pub darts as his weapon of choice was also a nice little touch of flavor. But on top of all that, we got this really cool thing with the book going on. Spells randomly cropping up in the middle of his stories is just fantastic. I really like that. In the first campaign we ran, the party discovered a magic book that wrote in itself, but I gotta be honest, I think I like Joffrey's book better. Joffrey's book also got to be passed on to other people, whereas the book in my campaign just kind of died. Now let's move on to another one. This one is from Theo, and that would be the same Theo that ran my first ICRPG game for me, which, by the way, I should probably do a video on that. As a matter of fact, I think somebody even suggested that. Theo says that they're playing a Goblin Tiefling Thaumaturgy. Theo says that they're playing a Goblin Tiefling Thaumaturge in their younger brother's Pathfinder 2nd Edition campaign. So hey, something that's not D&D. Very, very nice. This little gobbo mysteriously lost his ability to perform magic and dropped out of his mage's university as a result. He now uses trinkets to emulate magic and travels the Mwangi, I think that's how you pronounce that, travels the Mwangi Expanse, which is apparently the fantasy version of Africa and Australia, as an archaeologist. Because he's descended from politicking friends, Rakshasa. You guys really like your hard-to-pronounce names, don't you? He speaks in a deep, melodious, and refined accent, despite being a little feral-looking gobbo with cat eyes. So while this is short, and by that I mean the information we got, and probably the little gobbo himself, this is actually pretty cool. I like how we have this bit left open we can work with. The goblin had magic in one point, but for some reason it has disappeared. Theo hasn't said why, so I'm assuming they don't know yet. I'm wondering, though, if the plan here is to let the GM use that the way they want, meaning the GM could either give them a side quest to go on to figure out what happened, or if the GM will weave that into the main quest line. Personally, I like it when players leave a little bit like that open. For one, not everything has to be defined. If you're doing that, you might as well write a story and call it a day. But two, it leaves room for your GM to use your character's backstory, which usually also means there will be some growth for your character. And really, on that note, I do want to do a video in the near future about making interesting backstories. But leaving that bit open also reminds me of a character from the first campaign I ran. We had a character by the name of Liliana, who was part of a wealthy family. She had 2 older twin brothers and 2 younger twin sisters. Now, the person playing as Liliana had no other plans than that. They made their character a bit of the odd one out by having both older and younger twin siblings. Well, yours truly couldn't let that go. So as the campaign progressed, Liliana learned that her family had a bit of a dirty secret. Before she was born, her folks were having some serious financial issues. A mysterious wizard approached the father as well as a pregnant mother. He claimed he could fix all of their financial woes at the small cost of the baby that was on the way. Of course, the parents disagreed at first. I'm not a total monster, but they did eventually give in. The mother gave birth to a set of twins, and the mysterious wizard took one for himself. Liliana then grew up believing she had no twin of her own. Fast forward a good bit, and Liliana starts to uncover the truth about her parents. The mysterious wizard had been experimenting on the lost twin with some new magic, and she had turned very evil. In the end, Liliana had to fight her twin in a battle to the death, which just about completely broke her mentally. It was a great time. Anyway, I'm actually going to stop right there because I got a feeling this is already pretty long. I know I mentioned in the Discord before I got started on this that I might need some other characters to use, and then I ended up not even using them. But hey, hopefully we'll have more videos like this to inspire your future character creations. However, before we do get out of here, I do remember what I said at the beginning of the video. I said I'd explain at the end why we were making a bit more of a relaxed video, and here we are. First things first, and you've probably already noticed this, but yes, we did hit 1,000 subs. And because we hit 1,000 subs, today's shout out has to go to Aspen Says Woof. Way back when I started getting my first little hint of traction on the channel, and by traction I mean like 5 subscribers, they left a comment saying that they were surprised at how much effort I was putting into the videos despite the lack of subscribers. Well, joke's on you, 1,000 subs later and nothing has changed. It's still only a slightly animated PowerPoint. But more importantly, he also said if I ever became a big YouTuber, he can say he was one of the first. Also, woof. Well, here we are, Aspen. We made it to 1,000. That's big as far as I'm concerned, and I didn't forget you. And next up of things on the list is if everything went according to plan, and this video was released when it was supposed to be, then today is my birthday. Yay me, I'm old and everything hurts. And if this video goes out late, well, I guess I'll just look like an idiot at this point. But more importantly, I am very happy to announce and shamelessly self-promote that I finally got my book out for sale. And when I say finally, Lord have mercy, do I mean finally. It's been an absolute uphill battle with one thing after another getting in the way, but hey-o, looky there it is. Now, a couple things before all of you rush out and buy it. Yes, it is available for purchase. However, I'm currently waiting on my own copy to arrive and to make sure everything is proper. I did do some proofs before it went up for sale, but I want to double check a real copy as well now that it's officially on the store. And unfortunately, that copy won't get here for another couple days after this video goes live. If all goes to plan, this video will come out on Tuesday the 16th, and I won't be getting my copy until Thursday. I'm telling you this because if I find any issues, I'm going to yank it right off the market as quick as possible. So yes, book is for sale, but wait until the 19th to grab it unless you want to risk a potentially misprinted copy. Which, hey, might be worth a fortune in the distant future if I ever amount to anything as a writer. Who knows? But also, if you're not only wanting a new fantasy book to read, but you're wanting to be supportive, don't think you need to buy the hardback because it's the most expensive. I actually make more on the ebook, which is also a heck of a lot cheaper for you. Now, obviously, you're free to get your preferred format. I just didn't want you to go out of your way trying to be supportive when you didn't need to. So that's that. Big things happening around here. I've probably peaked and it's all downhill from here on out. Somebody will dig up a tweet from 5 years ago on my 1-month-old account and it'll all be over. But until that happens, make sure you stay safe and have fun because that's the most important part of the game.